Right. It's 6:30 in the morning in Australia. And I've just sat down to have my cup of tea. And this is the news that I wake up to. Senzu's benched. Don't really know what to say about this one. This feels like an April Fool's joke, except it's the 23rd of October, 2025, and we're about a month away from starting the major. The major after the Mongolz have just taken a top 2, the best result for an Asian team ever at a major event in Counter-Strike. So they're making a roster change. Essentially, I mean, for them, it's probably more like 5 weeks, 5-6 weeks until they play at the major because they play from stage 3 onwards. So they have a little over a month, I guess, to integrate a new player into this lineup. I don't know why you would make a roster change like this at this point. Obviously, that raises a lot of questions on its own. You'd look at that and say, well, if they are making this roster change, something has forced their hand. Would it be fair to say Senzu has decided to take a break? Well, maybe. I mean, that would be one reason why he would leave the team. I'm not sure why it would say that he's, why you would communicate it as he's benched. So that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And it also doesn't make a lot of sense to me based on the tweet that he made where he seems to be quite remorseful on the situation. He says sorry to the fans for the bad news and stuff like that. So I can't imagine. And also just, you're throwing away sort of a dream in a way if you're Senzu there by taking a step back. So I can't imagine that he's decided, he's made this decision. I cannot imagine that this is a decision on Senzu's behalf. So my next thought goes to what are the reasons or what are the factors involved in this on the Mongol side? What would cause the Mongols to make a change like this one? Potentially some kind of conflict in the team. Obviously, that's possible. We've seen it in the past from Mongolian teams. I mean, infamously, when Score was benched from IHC, which was probably the equivalent tier of news to this one at the time, right? That was probably the biggest roster change at that time for Asian CS, right? Because that was just when IHC had started to really come online. They'd started to qualify for a couple of majors. Score was their star player at the time. He's a real standout. Everyone was really stoked to see him. And we thought this guy's gone somewhere in the same way that we thought about Senzu. And then he got benched and then he disappeared and now he's back on the Huns and he's just qualified for his first major in 2 or 3 years. Is that what we're going to be saying about Senzu in 3 years? Oh, I remember when he was on the Mongols. So the reason that, at least at the time, that was theorized that Score was benched from the Mongols was that he had an argument with Mara. And it kind of came down to a Mara or Score kind of debate for the team. And the team ultimately sided with Mara, it seemed like. Which is, I guess, in hindsight, not a bad decision. But, so there's a precedent, I guess, that has there been an argument in the team? Has there been a conflict? Possibly. The other consideration, for those that remember when Senzu was in NKT, he had the skins drama where this was now 5 years ago or so, I'd say. He borrowed skins from teammates and he gambled with them and he lost them. And was unable to pay them back at the time. I assume it's been paid back now. But obviously that is a very, very early time to be gambling. He's very recently, over the last sort of 12 to 18 months, come into a lot of money. If he's still gambling on the side and, maybe Mongols were made aware of it, that would certainly be a red flag, a very big, big concern for them with all of the match fixing that has been coming out recently. Now, I'm not going to imply anything there. I don't know, obviously. We'll have to wait and see. But there's definitely a lot of things that you think about when you see news like this one, because it doesn't make sense. There's no there's no reason that we could theorize. We'd like to go back and forth and think about all these possible reasons to make roster changes, who could be an upgrade, who could be better, who could do this, who could do that. But this is the one where if you tried to make a genuine reason, like an in-server reason why this change would happen, I don't think you could find one. Because Senzu, he will be, or maybe is already, an irreplaceable player for the Mongols. At least right now, right? In the immediate future, in the immediate 6 weeks in the lead up to the major, the most important tournament of the year, apart from the last major, and one which it genuinely felt like for the first time, people could reasonably say an Asian team may be able to win, right? They're one of, let's say, five, six, seven teams that could reasonably put themselves on that pedestal and say, we are a major winner contender. If everything goes right for us, we could win this major. They just won EWC maybe a couple of months ago. Obviously, it's been a bit up and down since then, but we know that the level that they can hit, the base level that they play at is still good enough to potentially win a tournament. Why couldn't it happen at the major? They took top 2 at the last major. This was the first time I think you could reasonably say that a team from Asia could win a major in the history of Counter-Strike. Well, at least since Global Offensive onwards, if you want to be one of those people. So in the immediate 6 weeks to be able to try to replace your star player to reach that level again, I think it's impossible. Doesn't matter what team you are. You could be, look, Vitality minus Zywoo. Donk out of Spirit, right? Can you replace that player 6 weeks before the major? No. Sure, your team's probably still good enough to perform to a level. Can they make playoffs? Maybe, yeah, maybe. I think they could maybe make playoffs without Senzu. I think it's possible for sure. But are they going to win? Are they going to go deep? I think that's almost impossible, I would say. I don't really. It feels it's crazy to me that it's taken this time for Senzu to get to the point where he did as an individual player to be able to perform on the stage. And we get probably not even 6 months of what peak Mongolz was, and now we're making a roster change, and the future's up in the air again. So who do you replace him with? How do you replace Senzu? Does someone that's already in the team go into his roles? And you kind of try to work with it that way rather than putting all of that on the shoulders of a new player coming into the tier 1 environment. That's a possibility, I guess. Techno had a pretty good tournament at EWC. Could he find that form again and be the star player for the Mongols? I don't really know. I think at this point you kind of are in just damage control, so we'll see what they decide to do. Historically speaking, and I will give credit to the Mongols, they have always made good roster changes, right? Every single roster change that we've seen from this core has, even on the surface of it, looked absolutely moronic, been an upgrade, right? When they removed Score, eventually they got better. When they removed Cabal, turns out he was a match fixer. When they removed Annihilation. Okay, 910's, let's say, at least as good as Annihilation. I think if not as flashy and exciting as Annihilation, he's definitely been able to perform to a level which we are happy with. So now to say that they're removing Senzu, I think you have to give them the benefit of the doubt to say they'll find a player that can play pretty well. But who is that? I look at the names that we have available in the Mongolian scene. I don't know that there's anyone that's ready to make that next step. But then again, you wouldn't necessarily say that about Mzinho and 910, and they did it eventually, right? So look at the Chinggis Warriors, look at the Huns, look at Eruption, look at IHC, look down the list and wonder which person could they pick up, which rifler could they get to complete this team. And I don't really have an answer for you. I think what will happen here probably is that the Mongols are going to pull a name that we've barely heard of and do something similar to what they did with 910 and Mzinho and build that player from the ground up. I don't think they're going to go for someone that's experienced. Maybe they will go for someone that's experienced as an interim period and just take, I don't know, like who? Obviously, the immediate thought turns to Score, but he's just qualified to the major with the Huns, and I don't know what the relationship is like between Score and the current Mongolz. It seems like no one has a great idea. Like, I've obviously, been talking to some of the Mongolian fans in the Discord, and it seems like no one's really got any idea. No one knew this was coming. No one's got any idea who's going to replace him. Who could you potentially get? It has to be a Mongolian. So I guess we'll see. But is this the dream period of Asian Counter-Strike already dead? Did we get, let's say, 10 good months? We had Lin Vision making it to stage 3 at the last major, Tyloo winning Fisher earlier this year, Mongolz winning EWC, taking top 2 at a major. Was that peak Asian CS? Have we already peaked and we don't know it yet? We thought this upcoming major was going to be a good one. Now, one has to wonder. We'll see, I guess. Hey guys, just at the end of that video and heading into 2025, I want to give a massive shout out to Jean, who has been a big supporter of mine on buymeacoffee.com/elfishguy. She's been a member for over 12 months. And if you'd be interested in supporting my content and getting this content grind going, then head over there as well and check it out. Thank you very much.